Oh, to Jesus I surrender, make me Savior, wholly thine. Let me feel thy Holy Spirit, truly know that thou art mine. I surrender all. I surrender all to thee, my blessed Savior. I surrender all. Oh, to Jesus I surrender, Lord. I give myself to thee. Fill me with thy love and power. Let thy blessing fall on me. I surrender all. I surrender all to thee, my blessed Savior. I surrender all. I surrender all. I surrender all to thee, my blessed Savior. I surrender all. Worthy of every song. Fill my life. Worthy of every song could ever sing. Worthy of all the praise we could ever bring. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. We live for you. With Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. You're worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. We live for you. And holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder. Show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. You're worthy of all the breath we ever sing. You're worthy of all the praise we could ever bring. You're worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Oh, we live for you. You're Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. You're worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Oh, we live for you. And holy, there is no one like your heart and lead me in your love to those around. You are holy, there is no one like you, there is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder, show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. And I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation, and I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken, and I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation, and I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. You are holy, there is no one like you, there is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder, show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around. You are holy, there is no one like you, there is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder, show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation. I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. Oh. Sing this last chorus with me. How great is our God. Sing with me, how great is our God. Oh, we'll sing how great is our God. How great is our God. Oh, you be how great is our God. Oh, we'll sing how great is our God. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, great thou art. Last time. How great is our God. Sing with me, how great is our God. Oh, we'll see how great is our God. Amen.
Oh, welcome back, man. Wasn't that worship awesome? Thank you, Brenton. That was great. Wow. Man, I don't know about you guys. We had some awesome stories in my group of 4. Unbelievable. Just to hear God is doing and refreshing all over the place. But I'm not going to lie. Here in Bakersfield, we've switched over from Souly Refresh to Souly Refrigerate. It is cold. And I'm looking down on the screen. I see Ron Froelich. There's a ceiling fan going above his head in Costa Rica like it's hot down there. I'm coveting Costa Rica right now. Isn't that how we are, right? Aren't we like sheep? We're in a pasture that God provides, and it's awesome, but yet we find the fence and we try to stick our head through the fence and eat the grass on the other side. Somebody's showing us a picture of snow outside. That's what it feels like in Bakersfield right now. But we're always, right? We're sheep that go astray. We're never content with what God gives. And that's just how we are. We go through the wilderness. God provides manna, and we feed on manna, and it's not good enough. What do we want then? Quail, right? And then he dumps quail on us, and we're just never thankful for what God provides. If we really want to dry ourselves out as we walk through this wilderness, we can say this sentence right here. I deserve, and then fill in the blank, ... I deserve, ... When my wife and I, Amanda, got married, I'd just gotten out of college. She was a substitute school teacher, and we didn't have 2 nickels to rub together. So it was easy for us to be thankful for whatever God brought because we just didn't have much. And so we go through life. I'm working hard, doing my thing. She becomes a school teacher, and we start making a little bit more money. And I get this big job promotion. And all along through my whole career, I had never, ever asked for a raise. I just let God provide what he was going to provide. But I get this big promotion, and all of a sudden, I deserve ... I deserve ... So I made a plan. I was going to go into my annual performance review, and I made a plan. I was like, you know what? I deserve 5% this year, 5% next year, and a 5% raise the year after. I had figured this out. I had made spreadsheets. I had made graphs. How I deserved a 5% raise, another 5% raise, and another 5% raise. My whole life, I had never done that. But it's for some reason at this point in my life, I thought I deserved this raise. For 2 weeks, I agonized about this, wrestled with God over this. I even talked to a buddy, not the same buddy on the last story. I'm like, what do you think? He's like, oh, you totally deserve that. You deserve more than that. So agonized for weeks about this decision, whether to go to my board for the first time and ask for a raise because I deserved it. That night, guess what God did? He provided me with no sleep whatsoever, not a wink of sleep. I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I knew God didn't want me to say a word about this. And so I go into that board meeting, I sit and I keep my mouth closed. And they reveal to me what my raise was going to be. They said, Dan, we want to give you an 8% raise. I was going to ask for 5. If I asked for 5, how much would they have given me? 5%, exactly. And just to put kind of a little padding on what God was trying to show me, the next year, guess how much they wanted to give me? Another 8%. I was going to ask for 5. The third year I go in, they're like, hey, we want to give you 10%. I thought I deserved 5. I was going to go in and ask for 5. I thought I deserved 5, and God each year gave me more than I could imagine. But to get that, I had to keep my mouth shut, and I had to just be thankful for what God is going to provide and trust Him to provide what was right. I learned a valuable lesson. I've never, ever to this day asked for a raise. God taught me a valuable lesson to be thankful for what He provides and to shut my mouth. Our speaker coming up next is going to speak on thankfulness. I love this guy. Jim Pentington is a third-generation professional auctioneer. His auction marketing career has spanned 35 years, and he has sold billions of dollars of livestock, real estate, and automobiles. Mr. Pentington was awarded the title of International Livestock Auctioneer Champion in 2000 at an annual competition in Calgary, Canada. He also has served as a president of California State Auctioneers Association. Jim and his wife, Amy, of 35 years, currently reside in Pismo Beach, California, enjoying semi-retirement from his auction business. They enjoy spending time with their 3 children and 4 grandchildren. Currently, Jim is the Regional Director of Influencers Ministry at the Central Coast. As director, Jim is influencing men to a close, personal, abiding relationship with Christ. Influencers is a men's discipleship ministry showing that faith and career can be lived out boldly together, not separately. Jim believes that God has given us not a spirit of timidity, but of power, love, and discipline. Please help me welcome Jim Pentington.
Thank you. Well, hello. It's good to be here. And like Dan said, it is cold. Special shout out to all you guys, no matter where you are, across the country or even the world. I don't know. Special shout out to you guys on the Central Coast over there. It's probably warmer there. Usually it's warmer here. You know, thankfulness, that's a big word. And I'm going to share God's story in my life. And I'm going to start at the back end of it to do with thankfulness. And then I'll fill in the blanks. I'm thankful this Thanksgiving that's coming up that my whole family, my wife, my 2 kids, they're my 3 kids, they're 3 spouses, I'm trying to keep track of the numbers here, and 4 grandchildren, the 5th one on the way, are going to be at our house for Thanksgiving, to celebrate Thanksgiving. So you might think, well, that's no big deal. Everybody does that. We all go to grandma's house for Thanksgiving. And yeah, it's probably, that's right. But I want to share with you a story of a miracle, a supernatural miracle in my family and in my life, to do with my relationship with Jesus Christ. Because see, if this hadn't happened, the story I'm about to share with you, more than likely wouldn't be meeting this Thanksgiving in a few weeks with all my family. It'd have been impossible. It wouldn't have worked. So yes, I'm thankful for Thanksgiving here in a few weeks. So let me start, I'm kind of your typical Christian. I was. I accepted Christ when I was 10 years old at a church camp. And I truly believe that I did accept Christ. I did invite him into my heart, and I do feel he came, and I believe that. But as time went on, I grew up in a pretty legalistic church. They really, really discouraged premarital sex. They thought it could lead to dancing. No, really. I mean, the more they talked about dancing, and I don't know, maybe it's a bad thing to dance. I don't know. But really? You can't go to a dance. Well, we couldn't do a lot of things. And for those of you that know me, probably the best way to get me to do something, I'm working on this, but the best way to get me to do something is tell me I can't. And And the best way to get me to do something I really don't want to do is tell me I can't. It used to be way bad. But, you know, God made me a certain way, and sometimes we are who we are. Well, I was who I was throughout my teenage years, as I'm going to get into here, my 20s. But, you know, first, just let me say, as I went through, I became a rebellious teenager. I couldn't follow the rules. I wasn't good enough. I hated the guilt. I wasn't a rule follower. I'm still not. I get married when I'm 19 because that way I wouldn't be guilty anymore about having sex before marriage. I mean, that was at least one reason I got married so early. Well, it didn't last. It lasted a year. Got a divorce. We did have a beautiful daughter. My oldest daughter, my only daughter. So that was a great blessing and still is. But when I got the knock on my door from that church, the legalistic church, that I had attended all my life, and the deacons were there to kick me out of church, said I couldn't come no more because I was getting a divorce, and you can't get a divorce, not in this church. All right. Well, it's really kind of a relief because I really just went off. I went to what I didn't have to worry anymore about the guilt and about the law and everything. I didn't think I did anyway. And so I just kind of took off in my early 20s. I did the proverbial sow your oats, your wild oats, and all that kind of stuff. Chased a career. And then I met my wife, my current wife, some 5-6 years after that, and got married, and I had 2 more kids, 2 more boys. And by now, I'll just kind of fast forward. I mean, I'm just, for lack of better, I don't want to tell you all the details to glorify anything, but I chased the world, man. I chased it, and I chased it hard. And I was kind of proud that I chased it harder than most people I knew, because I was pretty prideful. And so I chased and chased and chased, the what the world has to offer, all the success that the world claims is success. And I traveled a lot, ended up with my own private jet. And I went where I want, did where I want, when I wanted, and whenever I wanted to. And tried to make money along the way and party along the way. And that was till I was about 50. Right up against it anyway. And by now, of me after this time of basically living 2 lives. That's what I did. I lived a life here in Bakersfield, where I lived here in Bakersfield with the family and the business, and then I had another life when I left town. And I thought that was real honorable at the time. I wasn't mixing the two. Really thought that. I thought I was fooling everybody. The only person I was fooling was myself. So it all blows up. A little about the way that it blew. I mean, I had retired when I was 40. I'd sold 2 businesses. I had plenty, I thought. Then I really partied hard. I was bored. And I'm not good when I'm bored. I'm better now. But that just led to, it just got worse. The kids grew up, left home, went to college. So, it's the typical just me and my wife. She was done. She'd wore out her knees praying for me. And a godly woman. But 28 years, she was done. And when she told me she was, I believed her. She'd told me this for 25, 6 years, every 6 months that she was done. I didn't believe her. And I was right. She was bluffing. And I knew it. So I let off the gas and then I'd put it back on. This time she told me, don't ask me how, but I believed it. I guess because she meant it. How'd I know? I don't know. So I left. We split up. And one of my big issues that she really always hated was my drinking. I drank a lot. And so I thought, well, I'll go get help for that. She'll like that. So I was doing it for her. So I go to a church ministry thing, church truth ministries, they call it, kind of like a AA in a church. So there's this guy, I show up there, there's this guy there, comes up to me, says, hey, I don't know if this really for you. And of course I'd kind of shown him that when I got there. I just basically told him, I'm not here because I have a drinking problem. I'm here to get my wife back. Sorry, dude, I'm just not going to lie to you like some of you guys are doing. I might have a drinking problem. I might not. I don't know. Don't really care. This guy pulls me aside. He says, he was from here in Bakersfield. He was a fireman, he told me. He says, you ever heard of influencers? I said, nope. Well, they meet on Friday mornings over at the Bridge Bible Church. I said, where's that? I said, well, it's on the west side of town. Meets at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. I think you ought to check that out. Well, I'm in the mode of fixing things, fix this broken situation. So I go the next morning and I pull in. I go, wow, this is kind of cool. A couple hundred pickups sitting outside, and I'm thinking, of course, I didn't know what to expect. This is the first time I've been back to church since I was kicked out of that one some 30 plus years ago. So I figure I'm going back to the same spot, right? So, but it wasn't. I walked in, it was like, a bunch of regular dudes. They didn't look like church guys, whatever that is. In my mind, what a church guy was. Still don't know what a church guy is, but say it anyway. And the first I run into two guys, Cap and Collins Reimer and Cap Sprillo. I knew those two guys. Anyway, they looked at me like, "Oh, what's he doing here?" So they invite me in their group, and this is toward the end of the journey. If you haven't been in the journey, it's 9 months, and this was like the 8th month, roughly. And so I completed the last month with them, and basically they just let me explain what was going on in my life. And I hadn't really ever done that before, told another man about my problems or my issues. If I'm talking to another man, I'm telling you how about my successes, not my failures. It's just the way I was. I believe a lot of men are that way. It's the way we're built. Sorry. But after that, what happened was we have, in Bakersfield, we have M24. You guys across the country may or may not know what that is, but it's 24 hours with God, and it's all men. And we go to a location, and a lot of praise and worship, a lot of stories, hearing men's stories, a lot of food. I went very first year, never been before. I get there, I come down, there's 1,000 men out there, pretty powerful. And I come down the hill and I run into a man that I knew, not really that well, just our boys had played baseball together. His name was Mike Letourneau. And he starts telling me a story out of the blue. I'm like, dude, what are you telling me this story for? And it's a story similar to mine. He'd been unfaithful to his wife and gotten caught in an affair. And he was telling me all about it and where he was at. And maybe she was going to forgive him, maybe not. And it was looking better. And he was telling me all this. And I'm like, whoa. I leave that night. I didn't spend the night. I had to be somewhere the next day. I leave and God speaks to me that night on my way home. And he says, you must tell your wife, you must come clean. I'm like, nah, not doing that. And he worked on me all night, never slept all night. And so I got up the next morning and thought, wow, this is never experienced this before. So I called my oldest son, I called my daughter, and I confessed this to them that I hadn't been faithful to their mother. And I asked her forgiveness. I apologized. And it was pretty instantaneous from those two. I called my youngest son, and he wasn't having nothing to do with it. And I understood, but I still asked. And so then I knew, well, I got to tell my wife. And so I called her. I haven't seen her in a month, maybe more. And I called to see if we could meet. So we met. And we sat down at a picnic table at a park across from each other. I let it all out. And it was so uncanny that I felt this cloud, this black, smudgy cloud lift off of me when I did that. I just coming clean with everything. Because see, God had told me, if I put this back together and you have this secret, it won't work. And that's why I did it. Well, that cloud that went off for me, I saw it go across the table and rest on her shoulders. It wasn't very fun. And if she wasn't done already, she was really done now. So she left. And I said, wow, God, that really worked out well. I thought, who knows? His timing is perfect. We usually don't know till later. So I don't see her until like another month or two, and really to inform me she wants a divorce. And we're about 6 months into this thing now. And so, okay, I didn't want one, but, what are you going to do? And I prayed and prayed, and my brothers were praying. And that night, I learned what crying out to God meant. I learned what real prayer is. Not the prayers you hear in church, the same old phrases over and over, from the head, not the heart. You've all heard them. I laid on my bed that night on my back, and I cried like a baby. And I literally gave my wife, his daughter, back to him. I released her. I'd come to the end of my own self-sufficiency. I surrendered. I surrendered her, and I said, Lord, protect her. I can't right now. And if you see fit to give her back to me someday, I will do my best to love her like you love the church. And I meant it. I wasn't making a deal. I meant it. And it also meant if he didn't do it, okay, I'm still going to follow you. And so I continue. The journey's about ready to start up again. This is now fall, and it's a school session kind of thing. And so this year, this particular year, there's a September, And I go through the journey. And I learned what a close abiding relationship was with my father. Not what I thought I knew when I grew up in that legalistic church. I learned about grace. I learned a lot. And God's still showing me a lot about grace. Well, what I needed, I thought, but it was out of my control, was I guess I needed my wife to forgive me, and I needed my son to forgive me, my youngest son. And I knew she wasn't going to unless he did. I knew that. So lo and behold, we're into the next spring. So we're a year, we're probably a good, well, yeah, we're over a year into this separation. And we started kind of seeing each other. We weren't dating, but we'd run into each other. We'd call her. So things were happening. I could see God would just show me light when I got really dark. He would show me some hope. God's good at that. And so my son, the one that hadn't forgiven me yet, went on a missions trip. He's a pastor. Well, he wasn't then. He was in college then, but he is now. And he went on a missions trip to Indonesia for 30 days. And long story short, I mean, he tells this so much, and he's told this. Some of you over on the coast have heard his story at M6. But he had some supernatural things happen while he was over there, and he's trying to save Indonesia for the Lord, and share Christ when it's against the law. But he said all that came up was all these families in these villages that they would go to. They want to know about Americans' life. What's your family like? And all they know is Hollywood movies, I guess. And they want to know about the American family. And so here he goes all over the country saying, well, I got a dad that's a cheater. My mom and dad are probably getting divorced. So that's my family. Well, he really didn't want to talk about it, but that's what he's being asked. A Muslim man that had been converted to Christian, was a leader of one of the villages, came up to my son out of the blue, put his arm around him, looked him in the eye and said, son, you need to go home and forgive your father. So that was like my son, David. So, oh, wow. And then he had a gal that was with him from the college that had dreams. Like my son said, I don't know if I ever believed in dreams, but I guess so, but I've never had them, so I don't know. It's kind of weird to tell the story because some people don't believe this stuff, and I'm not trying to make them believe it, but I'm just telling you this is what happened. So if you don't believe it, deal with it. Well, this gal give this picture of this dream of, she says, when you get home, your family's going to be fine. I saw them on the beach. I saw you guys singing. David, you were playing your guitar. Your mother was there, and she had a smile on her face, and she let her hands down. And I saw a 50-pound burden lift off her back, and she was happy and smiling. When you get home, things are going to be good. And there's more to that story, but save it for later. Fast forward, gets home to LAX. We drive down to pick him up, and with his girlfriend, and he's sitting in the back seat with his girlfriend, and he's bawling like a baby, asking me if I would forgive him for holding the feelings he had against me. I was asking his forgiveness. I'd been waiting a year, didn't know if I'd ever get it, and he's asking for mine. And it was something. That's when I knew he was going to marry his girlfriend, because he let it all out. You wouldn't do this in front of some girl you were dating, I don't think. So there it was. That was the miracle. That was that was. I mean, my wife will. We've told this story together to couples and things, and she has said, when she was sitting in the seat when he was in the back telling this and asking me, of course, she had been waiting for his approval all along, and I kind of knew that. I know, I wasn't really no dummy, but I just knew. And so when she did, she says, I felt at that moment like a 50-pound weight come off of my back, kind of like a prophecy from that. It wasn't in that particular order, but someday maybe you can hear my son's. It's even more radical than I told it. It makes you start believing in dreams. So there's the miracle. There's the thankfulness that I have. See, I have a thankfulness now. My obedience, and I'm not obedient every day. Okay, but I try, and I spend time with the Lord every day. I'll miss, but my obedience comes from my thankfulness, not from legalistic guilt or rules or trying to impress other men with my behavior. I got a lot of work to do on. It's really easy to act like a Christian, but it's pretty tough to react like one, and I still got a lot of work to do there. Promise you that. Always will. But I'm okay with that, because God's dude. I'm not saying God doesn't care, but if he can put my marriage back together that was apart for a year and a half, and she wanted a divorce, and everything I did, and everything I'd asked forgiveness for, and that miracle, I'm kind of okay now. That was 7 years ago, I think. And I am, all I have to do is think back to that. When I look ahead, is just peek back. And so, yeah, Thanksgiving's coming up. A few weeks. I'm really thankful that we're all going to be together, because we almost weren't. That's all I got, guys. Thank you.
Phenomenal. Beautiful. Beautiful. Love you, man.